Now, do you go undercover to gay sex clubs?
No, I don't. No, I don't. What you're referring to is we do find it interesting and actually quite a news story that in places like San Francisco, you have these outdoor extravaganzas on the street in which men basically walk around totally naked. Now, I don't know where you live, but where I live, that would sort of be aberrant behavior and certainly something that people find newsworthy. And unfortunately, the liberal media, of which you may or may not be a part, David.
We absolutely are a part, I'll tell you.
It's sort of like generally find that ho-hum. And you know, even here in Chicago, they have gay pride parades in which there's been actually sex acts that have been committed during the pride parade. And I'm wondering, are gays the only ones who get like sort of the special rights to go prancing around naked in the streets, or is that something that's open to all Americans?
I don't know. I'll tell you, I agree with you that if being nude in public or sex acts in public are illegal, it doesn't matter whether you're gay or straight, you've got to suffer the consequences. I mean, I think we can agree on that, right?
Well, yeah, maybe we can agree on that. If I were to go nude, that could legitimately be called a hate crime.
Okay, so you're saying you have not gone undercover to like leather fetish conferences and taken pictures or gay sex clubs?
When I first started doing this work, we basically are banned from gay events, from getting the news out, and we wanted to get out stories which we found interesting.
Right.
I still think it's interesting that major hotels, for example, host leather events, which promote the most incredibly dangerous and disturbing behavior, and it's sort of treated as if it's sort of a civil rights issue, you know. And we think it's a legitimate story that there is this radicalism in the gay movement.
So now, you go and you photograph those.
That is not to say, well, you know, when there's an interesting story, photographs are taken. Yes, we take photographs of the annual Folsom Street Pride Parade in San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi's home district, where they actually have thousands of men who walk around nude. We think that's an interesting news story.
So let me see, just to be absolutely clear.
That there are gays who agree with us that this is very extreme behavior and it should be exposed.
Uganda is proposing legislation that will make homosexual activity punishable by life in prison for both parties engaging in the acts. Do you agree with that?
No, I do not. Let me be clear. We do not agree with anything that would be construed as violence or hatred towards gays.
Oh.
Now,
wow.
Sodomy laws are another matter. I believe, for example, in the United States of America, that the Supreme Court ruling that struck down sodomy laws was wrong. I think sodomy laws should basically be according to an area of the country by the community standards, which is to say that you're never going to see New York City pass an anti-sodomy law, but if they want to pass one in, you know, Mississippi or, you know, Kansas, then they should have the right to pass behavior against sodomy. That's how it always was in this country.
Okay, so yes or no, do you support the Ugandan legislation?
No, I don't. I would support if there were reforms in the legislation. In other words, I think, as I understand the Uganda legislation, a part of it is just applying the same penalty to what was, for example, if a heterosexual man rapes a young girl, a child girl, I believe they would give the death penalty. Is that correct?
You probably know more than I do.
Well, I think so. So, in other words, if that's the law for heterosexuals, a man raping a very young girl and he gets a death penalty, then we certainly would agree that that should apply to a man who rapes a young boy. We don't agree to the death penalty for somebody caught practicing homosexuality.
Gotcha. And do you believe what some conservatives are saying, that legalizing gay marriage would open the door to either three-way marriages or marriages with animals? Do you see that slippery slope?
I don't know about marriages with animals, but I certainly believe it'll open the door to polygamy, because here's why. One of the central arguments of gay activists is, hey, it's people who love each other. Who are you to deny them their love? Well, guess what? And you know this, and it's not just gays. It's also like, you know, some Muslims have two wives. There are multiple partner couple, or what do you call them? Truples?
Yeah, it sounds like you know much more about it than I do, Pete. I'll tell you.
Well, let me just ask you. There are multiple partner relationships in which they affirm their love for each other.
None of which are legal.
Who are we to deny? Yeah, but so was gay marriage until about 5 years ago, right?
Right.
So why should multiple partner couples who are relationships who have that same love, why should that love be denied?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I just don't really see it happening. And lastly, I know we've had both Paul Cameron on the show as well as the God Hates Fags people. If your organization disappeared and you had to align with one of those two, which would it be?
Well, it's sort of a foolish question, David, but we have denounced the God hates fags guy, Fred Phelps.
Right.
I think it's a dangerous message. I think it's not a biblical message. I don't think he's acting like a Christian. I don't think God goes around calling people fags. And it's interesting to us that the same gay activists who denounce him, and rightly so, we have many gay activists who are quite willing to call people like me names. So maybe they should apply that same thing. So I definitely think that Fred Phelps is a wingnut, and now that he's going out and protesting funerals, I think that's quite a way to influence people, going to people's funerals with his idiotic protests.
So you're more in the Paul Cameron side.
Oh no, I'm just saying that we think it's very dangerous that Fred Phelps does what he does, especially going to I don't think he should be made illegal,
Gotcha.
But we just think what he does is nuts.
All right, we've been speaking with Peter LaBarbera. Of course, we learned about truffles. We learned about all of the various problems that we have with homosexuality. I do appreciate you calling in today. I really do.
Can I give the website, David?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, it's americansfortruth.org, americansfortruth.org, and you can get information about our Truth Academy by hitting the button on the right side.
All right, thanks, Peter. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, David.
All right. And by the way, you can go ahead and hear the entire backstory to that interview on the Members Podcast today, midweekpolitics.com/membership.
Midweek Politics with Dave Pakman on midweekpolitics.com.
Midweek Politics is made possible in part by CSR Wire, the corporate social responsibility news wire at csrwire.com, by DIF Design, specializing in custom business websites at difdesign.com. To find out more about underwriting Midweek Politics, visit midweekpolitics.com.